Hey everyone, hope you're having an amazing day. It's Tom. Today's episode name is The Mystery of the Lost 50,000 Army of Persian King Cambyses II. In 524 BC, the Persian king Cambyses II sent an army of 50,000 men to attack and enslave the inhabitants of the Temple of Amun, or the Oracle, where the modern city of Suwa is today. Herodotus wrote a story about this event sometime in the middle of 400 BC. Herodotus says that 50,000 warriors entered the Egyptian western desert near Luxor. Somewhere in the middle of the desert, the army was overcome by a sandstorm and disappeared. Although many scientists consider the story a myth, amateur and professional archaeologists have been searching for the remains of Persian soldiers for many decades. First, let's look at the story map. The red line is the main route of the invasion of Cambyses, and the blue is the detachment of 50,000 men heading for the Temple of Amun. The beginning of the mystery begins with a historical story. King Cambyses II, the eldest son of Cyrus the Great, invaded Egypt in 525 BC. In the historically documented Battle of Pelusius, he defeated Pharaoh Psamtik III. Cambyses then proceeded to Memphis, south of modern Cairo, and take the city. After the conquest of Memphis, he sent Pharaoh Psamtik to exile. Cambyses then moved south to Thebes, modern Luxor. The Persian emperor wanted to claim Egypt and was rightly granted his status as pharaoh. After the conquest of Egypt, Cambyses got the throne name Mesut-i-Re, which means descendant of the god Re, and since then the Persians continued to rule Egypt for another 193 years until Alexander the Great defeated Darius III and conquered Egypt himself in 332 BC. But it seems that the powerful priests of the Oracle of Amun did not want to accept Persian as their pharaoh, which enraged Cambyses. In 524 BC, Cambyses headed on an invasion of Ethiopia and launched a campaign from Thebes. According to Herodotus, Cambyses separated the contingent of 50,000 men and sent them to attack and enslave the rebels and burn the sacred temple of Amun. Cambyses then marched east to Ethiopia, while this army of 50,000 turned west from Thebes toward the Oracle. Professor Kaper, an archaeologist at the University of Leiden in the Netherlands, never believed this story of the sandstorm and said, "Some expect to find an entire army in the desert, fully equipped. However, experience has long shown that you cannot die from a sandstorm." End of quote. Professor Kaper claims that the lost army of Cambyses did not disappear but was defeated. My research shows that the army did not pass through the desert, but its ultimate goal was the Dakhla Oasis. Excavations team of New York University in the Dakhla Oasis in 2014 revealed evidence of a temple building or part of a temple building built on behalf of King PaPal III. This building gave more light on the Persian occupation of Egypt and the army sent by Cambyses to Egypt's western desert. There was the location of the troops of the Egyptian rebel leader PaPal III, who attacked the army of Cambyses and defeated it in a degrading way. In this way he managed to conquer much of Egypt from his base in the oasis, then was crowned to pharaoh in the capital Memphis. The fact that the fate of the army of Cambyses remains so unclear is probably caused by the Persian king Darius I, who 2 years after the defeat of his predecessor Cambyses II ended the Egyptian uprising with great bloodshed. Darius attributed the disgraceful defeat of his predecessor to the elements. Thanks to this effective manipulation of Darius, then 75 years after the event, Herodotus accepted this information as a fact and wrote a story about a sandstorm. I quote, that the Persians set out from the oasis across the sand and reached about halfway between the place and theirs when, while they were at their last meal, a wind rose from the south, strong and deadly, which brought with it huge columns of swirling sand, which completely covered the soldiers and caused them to disappear completely. End of quote. Let us not forget that even here it was true, that history was written by the winners, and so Darius successfully turned the defeat from the Egyptians into a sandstorm in order to mask the failure of his predecessor and thus preserve the invincible face of the Persian Empire. Over the last 10 years, Professor Kaper has been involved in excavations at Dakhla Oasis. Kaper deciphered the complete list of PaPal III titles on the ancient temple blocks and concluded from the description that the temple blocks suggested that this place must have been a fortress at the beginning of the Persian period. Since Kaper hasn't found a battlefield yet, let's try other options. According to the description, the Persian army was last seen on the island of the Blessed, although we do not know what specific location it is. It was apparently about 7 days from Thebes. We can make some estimates about the path of this army. It could have been a place between the Karga Oasis and the Dakhla Oasis. What could have happened? Moving a large army into unknown and enemy territory is an extremely difficult task. It is quite possible that this army did indeed begin its journey from Thebes and faced serious challenges along the way. Some may know that about 200 years after the incident, Alexander the Great visited same place, the Oracle, and set out along the North Sea coast and then turned south to reach Suwa. Although the journey through the desert was shorter, it still posed great challenges. The writers say that Alexander's army could have been destroyed by this move if it were not for the divine intervention that saved them. If Herodotus's reports are true, then 200 years ago the Persians set out on a much more difficult and longer journey than Alexander. Consider the distances they had to travel, see the map above, or see the Google map. The army, which would go at least an approximate part of this route, would have to travel hopelessly almost 800 kilometers. If the army marched for say 30 days, it would need about 3 liters of water per person per day for 50,000 people. Then the total supply for this trip would have to be 4,500 tons of water, not counting the needs of animals, food, supplies, weapons, tents or soldiers' belongings. Ancient armies were usually accompanied by baggage convoys that contained all of these things. However, I assume that they did not carry 4,500 tons with them at once and expected to replenish an oasis during the trip. Even so, there must have been a huge amount of water and other equipment. In the ancient world, there are many interesting stories about armies attacking enemy baggage convoys to demoralize troops and sabotage their goals. So if the rebel army attacked and destroyed a supply convoy of Persians, then they could have serious problems on the way to another oasis. The Persian army was mostly made up of Persians from different regions, followed by the Medians, Greeks, Scythians, Parthians, perhaps some Indians and Egyptians, meaning that most men and their commanders had little knowledge of the Egyptian desert and the terrifying realities of the Great Sea of Sand, completely desolate desert in western Egypt leading as far as Libya. There are many things that could go wrong. Hasty preparation, poor logistics, poorly calculated distances, bad maps, terrain surprises, lack of quality and training of soldiers, potential uprisings, desertions, sandstorms, heat waves and also the already mentioned possibility of assault. Therefore, theories about what happened range from it never happened to the army lies under the sand. There are people who speculate that the army was attacked and defeated by the Egyptians and that Darius, who replaced Cambyses, essentially deliberately changed the story of the defeat and replaced the story with a sandstorm. There is also a theory that they used the wrong map, which showed the Oracle of Amun in the wrong place, which caused the army to get lost in the desert and without supplies, had no chance to survive. It's not hard to imagine a combination of several things at once. Maybe not everyone died in the storm, maybe they got lost, or maybe they left the expedition and the Persians, or Egyptians, then changed the story. There are also many people who ask if a storm can ever be so strong that it can bury an entire army. The Great Sea of Sand of western Egypt is an extremely desolate place with surprising sandstorms. But we don't know if any of them could be so powerful that no one would survive and report on this catastrophe. Over the years, many expeditions sought this army. Italian twin archaeologists Angelo and Alfredo Castiglione think that they have found a lost army. There is also a documentary from the BBC expedition, which also tried to find it. The Italian brothers came across buried ceramic vessels and many human remains. Bronze weapons, a silver bracelet, earrings and many human bones were found in the area. When exploring the elevated rock, they used metal detectors to find rare remains of the Persian army. Although there were many bones, the 50,000 army was definitely not involved. Based on further studies, the Italians assume that the army did not use the popular caravan route through Dakhla Oasis to Farafra Oasis. All the search for this lost army made earlier took this popular route. Therefore, no results were found. The army may have taken the western route from Gilf el-Kebir via Wadi Abd el-Malik to Siwa. Such a route would help the Persians surprise their enemies unprepared because the route through the oases was under Egyptian control. To support this hypothesis, various water sources and artificial wells were found along this new route. These water resources would allow the desert to march. When the soldiers were near their place, they faced a sudden sandstorm. While some soldiers took refuge, others scattered in different directions. The place was looted for many centuries, and almost all valuables were lost. But scientists have found pieces of Persian horse ornaments and several arrowheads. Such a finding may lead to a new direction in the search for the lost army of Cambyses. As you can see, 100 archaeologists have 100 opinions, but only one is correct, and we will soon find out which one it is, and as soon as the army of the dead is found, I will make another video about it. Until then, an army of 50,000 soldiers buried under the Egyptian sands is still waiting to be found. Thanks for watching this video, and if you like it, please remember to give a thumbs up. Leave comment below, I'd love to read from you, and if you're not subscribed, click subscribe, and also click the little bell icon so you'll immediately get notified of the next video that I publish. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you on the next video.